Hey there, good morning. I'm Connie Fuchsa with Foot Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. And this is Coffee with Connie. Hope you guys are having a fabulous morning this super awesome Thursday. I like to come to you a couple of times each week and bring you information, hopefully give you some tidbits about some things that might help you if you're looking to purchase real estate, selling a piece of property, selling a home, trying to get some more information, or you know somebody that is. It's a great time to sit down and get just some additional tidbits that you might not otherwise be able to get information on your own, or you might not otherwise understand. So what I try to do is bring that information right to you. Hey there, Richard, how are you? And with Richard checking in, if you are on with us live or watching the replay, let me know that you watched, and please share it with people that you know, because there's a lot of people out there that may need information that we're sharing that you don't necessarily know that they're looking. So I'd love it if you'd be able to share the information. That would be wonderful. So this morning we're talking a little bit about equity. Equity is a fancy word. And a lot of people don't totally understand what that means. And what I want to do is talk to you for a few minutes about what it is and what it can do for you. So if you own a piece of property, it gives you the ability to do a lot of different things. So when you buy a piece of property, you may put down some money when you buy that piece of property, and that initial investment is your equity, which equity is the amount of money that you own in your property. So if you bought a house that's $200,000 and you were able to put down $10,000, then you have $10,000 in equity, or your direct ownership interest that you don't owe a mortgage on. And equity builds in several different ways. And so I wanted to explain some of that to you because it's a little bit of a confusing concept. Just because you put, in that example, $10,000 down on that piece of property and you only borrowed $190,000, it may be that in 6 months that home may be valued at more than what you purchased it for, which would increase your equity. So let's say that as the housing market happens to increase, because obviously things are changing a little bit, the economy's gotten a little bit better, the housing market has gotten a little bit better as well, and so it's making some of the home values increase a little bit. And so what that means to you is, if you purchase that home at $200,000 and you put $10,000 of your own cash into it and borrowed $190,000, and now that same home is selling for $210,000, that means you now have $20,000 in equity in that property and not just 10. And so the reason I explain some of this is for a couple of reasons. One, it's good to know that you actually have some additional value in your property. The likewise can actually happen. Hey there, Bob, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. Hey, I hope your day's fabulous as well. Hey Lee, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. One of the reasons I like to explain this about equity to you is because you might want to understand that you have some ability to do some things with that equity if you choose to. And say you have children that are getting ready to go off to college and you need to borrow some money for a college fund. This is where what we were talking about earlier in the week, home equity lines and things like that, actually can come into play, because you may be able to borrow some money against that equity that you have in your home, hence the term home equity. You may be able to borrow some of that money to be able to fund a college education, some improvements that maybe need to be done to your home, or for some luxury items. Some people actually might be looking at borrowing some money against their home because it's still a good write-off on your taxes, that interest income, or that interest cost. You may want to borrow that money to be able to purchase a vehicle, or to purchase a boat, or to purchase a vehicle for that child that's going off to college, some of those types of things. So having that equity in your home gives you the ability to have some flexibility, because then again, as I said, our mortgage interest on our primary residence is one of the few tax deductions on interest that's still available. So some people will go out and get a home equity loan on their property. It's actually secured by their home, and that mortgage is a second mortgage on their property that they actually make payments on, but it allows them to take that deduction for the home interest payments that they're paying. So it's nice to know when your house increases in value that you have some additional equity. The other thing about equity is, of course, as you're making those mortgage payments each month, those mortgage payments are going to reduce the amount of money that you owe to the mortgage company and increase your equity or your ownership in that property. Hey there, Pandora. Thank you, beautiful lady. It's good to see you. Hey, Phil. How are you? So your equity comes up in several different ways. It can depend on the value of the market. And, you know, as I said, the market changing, right now home values are increasing. Unfortunately, as the economy was crashing, we saw a lot of decreases in equity. And unfortunately, a lot of people were in bad situations because the home values were really inflated and obviously the market couldn't keep up with that, and that's a different story for a different day. But unfortunately, a lot of the people that bought homes then had a loss in their equity, substantial loss. So unfortunately, that does happen sometimes. Typically, though, we see a lot of fluctuation. If you stay in your home for a long time, you'll see some fluctuation in that value. But one of the things that you will see ultimately is typically housing prices increase a small increment over time, and it gives you the ability to be able to recuperate any costs that you put into the home as you were living there, hopefully, as long as you didn't have a whole lot of things that you had to repair. Unfortunately, sometimes you have that situation as well. So when we're talking about equity today, the thing we're talking about most is as you make the payments, the amount that you actually owe goes down, and so you're increasing your value in your property. The money that you have accumulated in that property is money that you don't owe on the mortgage, so you've actually increased that equity that way. Or in fact, as I said earlier, the value could increase because things around you are selling for higher value, and which would increase the value of your home. The other thing to think about when you're talking about equity is if when you purchased the property, you did a mortgage that had mortgage insurance on it. The mortgage insurance, if you did a conventional loan with the mortgage insurance, when you get to a certain point in that equity, you own now 20% of your property, you've gotten to the point where you paid down 20% of that value, then you actually can apply to that mortgage company and say, I have 20% equity in this property now. I want you to remove that mortgage insurance. And they're going to require you to do some certifications and to do some paperwork. It doesn't just happen because, again, as we've talked about, this is a very large loan and they want to make sure that loan's secure. But it's something to consider. If you've been in your property for a long time, you've been making your mortgage payments for a while, you see the home values around you increasing, then you want to maybe take a look at if you have mortgage insurance that you actually pay each month, you want to take a look at that and see if that's something that you can actually have removed from your property, because the lender is ensuring, that mortgage insurance is ensuring that you'll repay the payments. And they only charge that if you borrow 20%, more than 20%, if you borrow more than 80% of the value of the property and you have less than 20% equity of your own. So what you want to do is you would want to look at what the values are around you. You're probably going to have an appraisal done, which would establish the value from a professional, and then the lender could consider removing that. That could be a considerable reduction in your monthly mortgage payment, so you really might want to think about that too. So when talking about equity, there's a couple of different things that you want to consider, like we've said. It gives you the ability to borrow some money against that equity if you have a considerable amount of equity in there. It also obviously gives you the ability to walk away with more cash of your own when you go to sell the property. As you're making those payments, you're actually paying down the mortgage and increasing your equity and your value in that property. And if you have a mortgage insurance situation where you pay mortgage insurance in your monthly mortgage payments, when you get to a certain amount of equity of your own money in that property, then you can apply to have that removed. So hopefully that gave you a little tidbit this morning. I'm trying to make my Coffee with Connie's a little bit shorter. I got a little bit feedback that they were a little bit long and it made it difficult for people to watch in the morning. So if there's more information you want to know, please let me know. I have a lot of information that I have prepared to talk about when we do these, but I'd much rather talk about things that you're experiencing, things that are going on in your world, or questions that you may have. So two things I want to point out real quick. And we've talked about this a couple of times, if you have questions, you can reach any of our team members through our website. I really encourage you to go look at our website, www.foottitlegroup.com. It has lots of information and resources. in helpful links. I had somebody yesterday ask me about the Maryland withholding tax and some questions about that. We actually have a link directly to the state of Maryland about that information, where you can go get forms, you can ask questions, you can read all the information about that. So really good links on our website. Just go in there and check that out. There's also a calculator that you can calculate closing costs, all kinds of good stuff there. The other thing I wanted to let you know is we are doing a live interactive webinar on February 15th, Wednesday night at 7 p.m. You have to register, and there's only a few spaces left, so get in and register as soon as possible. There's a link on our website. It's been going out in email. It's in all of our social media, or just message me and ask for the link. We'd be happy to send that to you. We'd really like to get you on there. It's going to be the 6 most common questions that we're asked about home closings. So the 6 most frequently asked questions about your home closing and going through the home closing process. So I encourage you to share, tell anybody you know that might be looking to buy real estate, or is starting to look at things, or might be looking to sell. We'd love to help them out. So hopefully, oh, thanks, Roy. How are you this morning? He just put up the link to our website. So thanks so much. I appreciate that. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I thank you all so much for your time and checking in, and let me know if there's anything we can do for you. And the one thing I do want you to remember is you have the right to choose who does your home closing, and it's very important, because at the end of the day, we don't only do your closing, but we protect your home ownership. I'm Connie Fuchsa with Foot Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. Have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.